got a treat for you today. We're out here in Georgetown at the Georgia Slide Mine. It's also known as the Betty Parsons Consolidated. But I'm going to give you a little bit of history on this. It's kind of unique. Kind of proud of that here in Georgetown. This is one of the sites that was started mining as early as 1848. By 1849, it's really going. Now, it's called the Georgia Slide Mine because many of the men who set this up were from Georgia. They were Cherokee Indians because the Cherokee had had their gold rush starting in 1827. The federal government removes the Cherokee, Trail of Tears, all that if you're familiar with it, in 1843. So the Cherokee hear about this gold rush in 1848, and they're already about as far west as you can get, so they're Johnny on the spot. And they've got more advantages. Not only do they know how to mine for gold and what they're looking for, but they have an 87% literacy rate when the average American literacy rate, even 30 years later, was a whopping 13%. The Cherokees had an 87% literacy rate. So everything in here starts with placer mining, and then it evolves to hydraulic mining, and then to hard rock mining. And this is very comparable to what they had been doing back in the old Cherokee Nation on the Tennessee-Georgia line. So the irrigation ditches, the water ditches to bring water in here to facilitate the hydraulic part of this and the recovery of gold, all of this comes in. So you look across this fairly level ground, and then you just see the maximum angle of repose. It's just cut right in. Now, we're at the edge of the Georgia Slide Mine. The main part of it is about 1,000 feet long and about 600 feet wide. But that's kind of variable because it keeps going beyond that considerable distance. They're saying a minimum of 3.8 million cubic yards of material was removed. And that's probably a little on the low side because how much this mine, it kind of extends out. And you have multiple things going on here. There's hard rock quartz, there's placer, there's everything. It all comes together right here. So it's really a very intensely good place to mine. And for a time, this was the largest man-made hole on the planet Earth. Now, some of these same engineers and miners, Cherokees, mixed-blood Cherokees, would later go to South Africa to the Ritzval Rand, and then that was the biggest hole on the planet Earth. Now, to give a little bit of this, the mining starts, like I said, even starting as early as 48, but when they finally get into this, Parsons and Beatty, they consolidate their mining claims. They start buying up the smaller mining claims and start working in even more. And the hydraulic mining comes to an end. So then they're still doing the hard rock mining. It's in 1915. They're still really going into this. The hard part we have is how much gold they actually get out of this ground. And this is for a couple of reasons. So when you look at the literature, realize that a lot of the prices they're giving on the gold, the money, it's 1915 of records in the 1890s, or it's 1930s that's referenced in the 1950s. 56, I think, is the latest I can get anything on this. High grading. The miner that's actually doing the mining, the estimate on most mines is between 10 to 40% of the gold was high graded. The miner can find it, and if it's big enough, they pick it up, they put it in their pocket, they put it in their mouth, and they swallow it. How do you measure that? Okay, there's that variable. And this kind of hydraulic mining, this sort of mining, high grading would be very easy to do. You're breaking up the quartz, and oh my goodness, here's a big nugget, and that just they swallow it, it disappears, right? The next thing that gets you is that the federal government is paying, fixed in the 1930s, $36 an ounce, when the actual fair market value is considerably higher in the world market. Right where I had Gary Campbell meet me today, the Georgetown gas station was a Chinatown. You had a Chinese opium den / brothel. You also had Chinese laundry and Chinese restaurants. These were really fronts for getting a fair market value on your gold. You wouldn't sell it to the government for $36 an ounce. You'd take it over to the Chinaman and get closer to fair market value. And to tell you how important that was, within 8 months of the Japanese taking Nanking in World War II, which was the last open port to mainland China, virtually all the Chinatowns in the gold rush country disappeared. They dissolved, meaning the restaurant, the Chinese laundry, the opium den / brothel didn't make enough money to keep in business as soon as Nanking was lost. They all go out of business. There's a lot of gold going out that way. So when you're trying to figure out how much gold came out of this hole, you've got to start thinking on that. If I take these into account and how much they claimed, or at least had to claim that they took, you're looking at least $1 billion came out of this hole. It's possible it could have been as close as $2 billion in today's money in gold. So when you see this, and we're going to show some pictures here of the Georgia Slide, which is overgrown like a jungle over it. It's hard to really get a good view of just how enormous this largest man-made hole on the planet Earth for a time is. Realize money talks, and there's $1 to maybe $2 billion came out of this hole. And even during the Depression, some of my dad's grammar school buddies remembered that their father would take a pair of pants with the ends tied off, and on rainy winter nights would sneak past the security guards, go down in this hole and fill those pant legs up with material and sneak out. And that they knew that at the very least they'd get 50 cents to as much as $40 a pant leg worth of gold. Now, in the 1983 and 1984, a mining company applied for permits to start this mining up again. The best that their technology had in the 1800s, early 1900s, was about 60% of the gold would be recovered. I mean, 40% of it wasn't recovered. Even by modern stuff, you wouldn't retain all of it, but they were ready to start up the mining, and the federal government simply didn't give them the permits. So is there still gold here? Yeah, there's a lot of gold here. How much gold is here? Well, if they got about, let's say the bottom line, $1 billion, there's at least 400 million still sitting out here in just what they went through, let alone they didn't keep going because of FDR's Executive Order 6102, which basically outlawed the owning of gold, made you a felon. That's what stopped the bulk of this mining. So, is there still gold here? Yeah. Is there a lot of gold here? Yeah. Can you really mine it? Well, the government won't give you any permits, so it is what it is. But now you know a little bit more about the Georgia Slide Mine and this part of Georgetown.